Yeah. In high school, some of my first experiences in church settings were at youth group and church camp. And I really had no clue who Jesus was, what the whole God thing was. And I was stuck in my head and I was really insecure. I was uncomfortable with my own thoughts. I couldn't control them and I just was not open to God at all. And I was remaining in like this fight or flight mode. My nervous system was constantly tripped. I was anxious, all these things, and I didn't know that there was any other way of life. And guys, I'm gonna be real with you. There were only two things that really quieted those thoughts at this time, and if I'm being honest, it was eating and masturbation. And those are rough topics, and we're gonna do more, so I'm sorry about that, but it'll be fun, I promise. So I relied on those feelings to kind of just shut everything down, to quiet down my mind. I probably went to almost every youth group meeting there was, though, and I longed for what my leaders and my mentors and even peers around me had, the peace and the love of God, and I just didn't know it yet. I kept hearing all these things that I should and shouldn't be doing as a Christian, and to be honest, I really did not like what I heard. I watched my peers around me go to parties, partake in hookup culture, gossip, etc., and it all looked really good from the outside, and I wanted in. I thought that to be whole and to be secure in myself, that I needed to be friends with the coolest people to look like them and to be doing the coolest things, and then I would feel good about myself. I was wrong. But that, we don't get there yet. Senior year, I started partaking, and I felt like I was in. Where's Will? He knows this. I don't know where it is. Yes, my neighbor. But I wasn't comfortable around those people unless I was drunk. I studied abroad my first semester of college in Paris, and about a week before I went to a party and I got really drunk. My friend I went with got dropped off first by the Uber, and at some point I got out of the Uber and started knocking on a random person's door, thinking I was back for the party, like I never left. And it ended up being a dude I went to high school with. I actually thank God and praise him every day that they didn't have a ring camera, because I don't think I would have come back from Paris. But eventually the cops actually came and got me, and my whole family, including my dog, came to get me, and I was so ashamed. I was like, who am I becoming? But I went to Paris a week later, and I kept numbing those uncomfortable feelings. And I didn't know a better way to deal with them, honestly. I didn't feel secure in myself, let alone with God, so might as well not remember. There was one night I drank too much. Something was slipped in my drink, and I woke up with a man on top of me. I was really afraid, and was definitely not safe. He took my virginity, and when that was gone, I decided my relationship with God was gone. That it was my life, it was my turn, there was no going back. Why would he let this happen? If I was so broken, why would God want my pieces? It was my fault anyway. So fast forward, I came to USC the next semester with no friends at USC from being abroad, still having no idea who I was, what I was doing. I quit drinking at the new year for obvious reasons. Instead I took a bleed, was high all the time. Even being faded, I kept noticing God though. His hand was over my life. He put person after person in my life, and it felt like they wouldn't stop inviting me to things. I went on and off to another Christian group on campus, and most of the time I would go there high and would cry in the bathroom asking God if he actually wanted me. That summer, my youth pastor, Luke, hit me up to intern for my church. I still wonder what God told Luke to make that happen, because whatever. But I accepted the offer. I still barely knew God, but I began to learn. I went to church camp again, and this was the first time I actually experienced like the overwhelming love of God, like the chills, all the things, and it was awesome. But when you come back, sometimes it's hard to know what to do with it. If you've ever been to Greek Con or Greek Getaway, sometimes it feels like you come back and you're on a Jesus high for a little bit, and then you go back to your normal way of life. That's exactly what I did. I didn't know how to feel that way again, so smoking got me pretty close, but still left me in. I came back the next semester, that was my sophomore fall, and fell back into hookup culture. I just kept telling myself lies, like, this is okay because anything anything besides sex is okay, right? I went to one Greek IB this semester, and I felt like I needed to be a part of that community, though. So I rushed in the spring, and I ended up joining Delt, which was one of my biggest God moments of 2025 of many. And Camille actually rushed me, my queen, and little did I know she loves Jesus, and that she would help me come to know Jesus too. And so many others in my house knew Jesus too at the time. And my community became one that I leaned on and looked to as my relationship with God began to grow deeper. I started going to Greek IB and Bible study regularly while still living my old life, kind of dipping my toe in both waters, living the double life. But even though I still lived in the world, I started kind of inviting God into my life to start changing things. And at Recon 2025, the spring, I started noticing the places where I actually wasn't letting God in. I told him I would let him into my relationships, that I'd stop smoking, that he'd become my everything. And I didn't really change everything overnight, but I did start journaling, and I began to write down my prayers and take notice of what God would actually want to take out of my life. There started to come an awareness about it, but I didn't totally understand why he would want to take these things out of my life. And all of 2025, I struggled with addiction to weed, nicotine, pornography, ADHD meds. The list could probably go on. And it wasn't pretty. I tried to make it look like I was holding it together from the outside, but I was so messy and messed up on the inside. Yet God continued to just meet me where I was at. I began to write down the good, bad, most ugly thoughts and just tell God about it to let him actually step in. Even then, there were times that I came to him high, or that I would be reading my Bible, hitting a vape. So here are some of my journal entries from this era. God, I'm struggling with pornography, cigarettes, weed, and lust. These short-term pleasures pop into my mind all the time and are hard to stop. Cigarettes are literally killing me. I can feel it. My throat hurts all the time and I feel like I can't breathe. I pray that Greek retreat is the perfect time to quit cigs and weed, and that I don't have those temptations as I return. The next one. Then I pray that I trust in you with my addictions and that you give me the strength to work through them and that you work through me. Next one. Today I actually had a really great day. A lot of nicotine, unfortunately. Yet I still managed to be a good day, mostly with mindfulness and human connection. Those are some of my journal entries. Those prayers and entries were not pretty. It wasn't all cutesy like what you hear at Bible study or church or whatever else. It was just the lowest point of my life where I don't know what else to do but just be like, here, God, have it all. So I also, during this time, I started reading Sacred Attachment with Ken, a book that has truly changed how I view Christianity. This is it, if anyone is interested. And it changed how I viewed my relationship with Jesus too. It started to kind of rewire my beliefs about myself and about who God is. And one of the core topics that began to flip a switch in my head was what sin was and why it's actually bad. So, we're made in the image of God, and a part of that is that our souls desire a relationship with him and secure attachment to him, hence the book. And my attachment to him was like pushing and pulling. I'd go in and then I'd take it back. I'd give him part of my life and then I'd take that part back. And it just kept going that way. But my soul longed for God. It was stuck filling its own needs that only God can truly fulfill with sin. And we have needs that will truly never be filled until we experience the security of relationship with God. So for so long, I looked back on my years and I only noticed God's work in my life. And the ways that he's protected me and kept me safe, brought me to him, called me by name, and loved me. Yet, I failed to notice where the devil was working in this book. In my life. Yes. That there were forces and mindsets and strongholds at play that told me lies, that told me that God was not trustworthy, that told me that I needed to smoke, that discomfort was bad, and the list goes on. And I saw the devil at work through people in my life, leading me towards darkness. Not that the people were inherently bad, but I was caught at an in-between where I was vulnerable. And at Greek Getaway last fall, I had checked a box that said, interested in Urbana 2025, ? It's a 4-day missions conference over Christmas break. That box actually just means that Alex won't stop bothering you until you sign up up for it. Little did I know my life was about to change, though. At Urbana, I felt God so strongly from literally the moment I got into the car. He started convicting me of all sorts of things. I was like, whoa. He woke me up. My heart was actually softened at that point, and I'd actually just began to understand him and all that he was doing across the world. The conference was telling me about literally everything that God is doing around the world. And it wasn't just about me and my problems anymore. It was bigger than it. I was in a conversation with a woman who's now a dear friend of mine, and I was ranting about like the push and pull between me and God, how I couldn't just like have that secure relationship with him. And she asked me this question that's so simple, but was actually so life-altering, and it was, are you tired of it? Are you tired of it? And I was like, yeah, I'm tired of it. I was tired of living life on like this treadmill where I wasn't going anywhere. It was like I take and I pull back, and I take and pull back, where I wasn't moving. And I kept doing things to draw me close to God, and then to separate myself. And it wasn't fulfilling anymore. I went into prayer ministry, and a miracle happened on one of the last days at the conference. In the prayer time, I felt Jesus just take away every stronghold that nicotine had on me, and it was so freeing. And when I tell you, I came back, and he made it so easy to take it out of my life. He just said, no more, and was like, it was gone. And that was the most peace that I've had. And it's a substance that's not easy to quit, and I'm sure some of you use it, whether it's just drunk at a party or it's every day nonstop. But he said no more, and there was no more. And the first couple of weeks were honestly easier than it was now. He took away one of the hardest things for me to take out of my life. And as I say this, I just want you to know, this is not about me. This is not anything that I could have done on my own. I probably would not have. This was not like my own willpower, my own ability to break this habit. This was all God. He did it. Jesus, dying on the cross, did it. And through all my ugly prayers, he said, I love you. I'm carrying you, my daughter. I love you so much. I've been waiting for you to know me. I've always known you. I'm so happy you have grown to love me more than you love the world. And I just imagine his excitement in this. And this was what I wrote on the second to last day of the conference. There's a Jesus-sized hole in my heart that I won't let myself fill properly. I fill it with drugs, nicotine, male validation, any distraction that's easier to think about than my emotions. Sitting down, reading my Bible, or talking to God. Again, I'm tired of it. I'm scared that as I go home from this trip, that once again, I'll be on a short-lived Jesus high, and that I'll go back into my cycle until recon. And let me tell you, this time around, there has been no cycle. It hasn't looked perfect by any means, but it has looked like God revealing more to me and actually getting to heal the things that I wasn't letting him heal before. So when I had gotten back, I was actually still smoking weed. Came right back, lit up a joint, of course. But he had delivered me out of nicotine and masturbation. I was like, okay. But I still had the belief that if I smoke in moderation, it's fine. I like reading my Bible a little high. It's fun. But, sorry. Within a couple of weeks, that question of, are you tired yet, just kept like pestering me. It was like, are you tired of this? It was like God's asking me, like, are you tired of this? Are you tired of this? Every single time. And I realized, yes, I was tired of it. The moment that really got my attention was I was out at a mixer, it hit someone's pen, and we were with a bunch of new men, and some of them were coming to our Bible study, and I just could tell that they were perceiving me as being high, and I was like, oh, this is not good. I was like, yeah, no more. I'm finished. Like, I give it all to you, Lord. I'm not representing you well. And he made giving this up too easy, too. He was just like, free, whatever. And I realized, like, I'm done taking advantage of your forgiveness. That, imagine how he feels. I was like, oh gosh, I don't want to make you feel bad. Okay, get rid of it. He was asking me to stop discounting him. Like, if I really believed the Bible to be true, I believed that Jesus didn't just die to forgive my sins, that he also died so that I would get a new life, that he'd redeem everything in me. And that's why Easter was so special to me this year. Without Easter, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't have been made whole through Christ's holiness. that the pieces of me that broke when I was a child in high school in Paris, the most ugly things that I've shared with you today, the pieces that I'm most ashamed about, or once was most ashamed about, and would not have ever imagined sharing today. Like, don't get me wrong, a year ago I would have been like, not telling anyone any of this. No. He said that he'd redeem them all, and he did. And he made me a new person. That Jesus' blood and his love for us doesn't just make me clean, but it can make me into a new person, a person who now gets to experience his love in new ways, who gets to, who knows how deep the Father's love for her is, who has been met with grace, who has been met with just so much grace, and in recent months, the deepest work he's been doing in me, he's given me exactly who I needed to get through those periods of time. And it hasn't been easy. It's looked like deep healing, bigger feelings than I could ever explain, dying to myself over and over again every time I'm out and I see someone with a vape, every time I'm out and I see someone with weed, whatever it is, and relearning what a healthy relationship with him looks like, changing my lifestyle, changing the people I choose to spend the most time with, choosing to spend time with God over things I may want to do, and failing sometimes, but letting my purpose be just to be more like Jesus. The reality is that I could have said a million times over, God's way is better, his plans are better, but I wasn't actually living like I believed it, and I didn't know what it felt like to actually believe it. I had to face what I would change, how I would live if God were coming back in a month, year, 10 years. What would I actually change? Where is the devil at work in my life? Not just noticing where God has been good to me, but where I've been led astray. So now before we break into questions, there's pieces of paper in front of all of you and pens. And my question to you tonight is, this is just for you you can cover your paper. This is just for you to write and to know between you and God. But if you were to be honest with yourself and God, if Jesus were sitting right now across the table from you, and he asked you, what are you getting tired of? What strongholds or mindsets are holding you back from actually letting God in, from letting him fully know you, from building a secure relationship with him? What would you want to start to trust him with? Not that it'll happen immediately, but those things that you're most ashamed of that you've never told anyone. What would you want God to start healing in you? And these answers aren't going to be shared. Go ahead and write them down, tell them to God, and we'll pray over them after.